outstanding member of our club. As a matter of fact, he's the most ancient member in terms of membership.
Has
Blake.
9 years on me.
She's still a member?
Yes.
I stand corrected by the penultimate membership length person. Mr. Smith is going to be speaking to us on the medical system is broken. You, the audience, are medical professionals. You've gone through many years of school and internship to learn your craft. You are expected to hear more confirmation of what you have been taught to trust. That America's medical system is the best approach to all of us. Instead, Ken is going to point out some major flaws at the very heart of what we are likely hold dear in his speech. The medical system is broken. The medical system is broken, Ken Smith, and he shall be speaking to a hostile and growingly hostile audience as he proceeds through his speech. Ken Smith.
Thank you all, medical professionals, doctors, and guests. About 60 years, no, over 50 years ago, my father told me that some 10 years before that, when he was in medical school at UC Berkeley, it was pre-med, he attended the commencement ceremony for an upperclassman who was finishing his degree there. And the dean made a comment. We've taught you quite a bit while you've been here, but I have to tell you that what we know from the past is that half of what we told you is wrong. The problem is we don't know what half. I read that again just a couple of years ago, someone else saying it some 60 years later. Have they made any progress at all? I would like to let you know that there are things broken in the medical system, and I'm not talking about the Affordable Health Care Act. I'm talking about the root of the system itself has some real problems. One of the issues, of course, is that we all think that eventually this approach, allopathic medicine, is going to eventually find cures for everything. And that's our hope. But it's not the only thing to deal with. And we're going to find out that, and I'll give you some explanations today, just one example of an area that it has gone tremendously wrong in its approach. And there are other examples, but I won't have time this morning. What is the #1 killer of all people in the United States?
Heart disease?
Heart disease. 50% of all men, over 30% of all women die of heart disease. Now, the medical system has us all thinking that cholesterol is the problem. I'm going to tell you that actually cholesterol is not the problem, it's the cure. We need it in our system. Our body creates it. I know you all know what cholesterol is, but just for a quick refresher, cholesterol is fat and protein combined. Fat does not travel through water. It would all glob up. And our blood system is water-based. So it's encoded with protein so that it can travel. So it's a combination of fat and protein. It's called a lipoprotein. Lipo is from lipid, lipid means fat, and then of course protein is protein. And then the body makes this because the fats and the proteins are needed for the body throughout the system. So our bodies create LDL and HDL and all the things in between so that we can build our bodies properly. Why is it that if LDL cholesterol is the problem, that no other animal other than primates and guinea pigs have heart attacks or have atherosclerosis? The amount of cholesterol in a bear when it's hibernating is just astronomical compared to what we have. If it was really the problem, if just because it causes plaque, that's what causes our problem, then bears would die while they were sleeping, while they were hibernating. Dogs don't have heart attacks, cats don't, no other animal does, other than guinea pigs and primates. Well, there is something missing in guinea pigs and primates, and it's called GLO. It's guanylactone oxidase. It's an enzyme that is missing. That enzyme is necessary to synthesize vitamin C in our bodies. Well, why is vitamin C necessary? You all remember what scurvy is. This is where the cells break down. They don't adhere together well. And your blood vessels leak, your arteries leak, you hemorrhage inside. The body falls apart, literally. Because vitamin C is a necessary component in forming collagen. And collagen is the strength of each cell and binding cells together. A strand of collagen is actually stronger than a strand of steel wire the same thickness. It's wrapped like a rope, it wraps together. But it takes vitamin C to make that happen. And since our bodies don't synthesize vitamin C as other animals do, we have to have an adequate supply from outside in order to make that happen. I'd like you to picture for a moment you don't fix a flat tire. You screw it into a flat tire's air tube and it puts compressed air in there with glue and it goes to the hole and patches it because of the force of trying to come out, the air trying to come out that, and then it can fill up. Well, that's kind of what's happening with us if we don't have an adequate supply of vitamin C in our bodies at all times. We don't store vitamin C and we don't synthesize it, so we have to have an adequate supply every single day for those areas of the body that are under stress. Now, what's more stressful than the heart and arteries? Think for a moment, if cholesterol was really the problem, wouldn't it clog up the smaller veins first? I mean, as doctors, if you give infusions, you don't pick the smallest vein you can find because you might not get it all in. It might clog. You need bigger veins. You need to find bigger veins. Well, the same thing is true with cholesterol. All your capillary tubes would clog when you were infants if LDL cholesterol was really the problem. What it is the cure instead. If you are not getting enough vitamin C, your cellular walls are breaking down, and the stickiness of the cholesterols, the LDL, the low density lipoprotein, which means there's more fat than protein because fat is less dense than protein, is the one that will stick to the frayed fibers and so forth of the broken down cellular walls of your arteries. Because that's where the stress is. Just think about jumping up and down on a garden hose. Over a period of time, it would kind of break down, wouldn't it? It'd be cracking. Well, that's what your heart is doing to your body if you don't have enough cholesterol, or collagen, building it. So Dr. Linus Pauling did a lot of research on this. As most of you probably know, Dr. Pauling is the only scientist in the world to have received 2 non-shared Nobel Prizes. And one of them was for his work in chemistry. So Dr. Pauling has come up with a formula that has shown a lot of success. The problem is, if in order to actually make medical claims about anything, the FDA says you have to prove it. If it was not a claim that was made within 50 years, or for at least 50 years prior to the FDA being formed in 1906. And to prove it means a lot of money tied up in research and studies. And roughly $100 million in today's world that you'd have to go through. And who's going to put out that kind of money to study vitamin C? They can never recover it because this is something that's available by hundreds of companies really cheap. So that's part of a broken system. The other part, of course, is that these pharmaceutical companies that otherwise are the ones that have the money to do this are making lots of money with their statin meds under the theory that the LDL cholesterol is the problem. The statin meds change the way your body works so that you don't produce as much LDL cholesterol. And they make hundreds of billions of dollars selling those. So they have no financial interest in spending $100 million to prove that vitamin C works, because they can never recover it and it would cost them the business they currently have. And there are many other examples I don't have time to go into today of alternate methods of curing the body. Questions? Stop. No, don't turn it off.
Okay. We're in the second time period.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, now
We're
it's
now
question.
in the second
Yes,
time period.
yes, we're in question and answer.
Has there been any research been done at all to show that vitamin C is effective in treating or preventing heart disease?
I saw, and it's not on the internet, so I couldn't bring a picture of it, but in 1995, I saw the pictures of guinea pigs that had been given in two groups different doses of vitamin C. The group A got the equivalent by body weight of 65 milligrams a day. That's what the recommended daily allowance of vitamin C is. The other one, the other, group B, got by body weight the equivalent of 1,500 milligrams. After they were autopsied, these are the pictures I saw, the group A's arteries had a lot of plaque buildup in them. Group B were clean. There have been many anecdotal stories, people who were scheduled for quadruple bypasses or stents or things of that nature, who instead used the formula that Linus Pauling recommended, and they've been told that when it was time to go in for the operation, that they no longer needed an operation. So the studies, as I was explaining, that can prove to the satisfaction of the FDA just are never going to be done. There's too much money involved in that kind of research. All the clinical trials and so forth that people have to go through and over a long period of time to be able to measure it. Now there was one that proved that this doesn't work. The problem is they did not use the quantities of vitamin C, lysine, and proline that Linus Pauling recommended. They used about 1/10 of it, and then they saw no significant difference. So I have not yet seen a study where someone used the same amount and showed the conclusions of that.
Were those forms injected, or were those forms, how were they
No, they're just taken orally.
They were taken, yeah, because a lot of times people who take vitamin C, there are different kinds of vitamin C.
Yes,
Score,
that's true.
it can irritate the stomach. So can you speak anything about that? Is there different
There
forms?
are, yeah, there are many different forms.
Yeah.
And vitamin C is available.
It's also abundant
citrus
in-
fruits and
Yeah, foods, yeah.
yeah, lots
Yeah.
of foods.
Yeah,
So you don't have to buy supplements.
okay.
The therapeutic level, that means where you already have a problem that you're trying to cure, is 5 to 6 grams a day spread out over the day of vitamin C, 5 grams of lysine, and 2 to 3 grams of proline. But just on a preventative maintenance, you do about half of that. Gary, or Dr. Gary.
And that's Dr. Gardner's view.
Okay.
Trying to recall who I was speaking to. His father was working at the FDA, and Pauline was there as well, and it became incumbent upon him to do a double-blind study on the use of vitamin C for the prevention of colds. And they actually conducted that study and determined that vitamin C had no impact on colds. However, it did have a positive impact, whether it was the placebo group or the vitamin C group. By taking it, they thought they felt better. So they think as a result of thinking that they felt better, they actually were better. And so the positive thing about the study was, if you think you're going to be better, you will be.
Sure.
But that actually neither the placebo group and the vitamin C group really showed no difference in the incidences of colds.
Okay.
Are you aware of any studies done outside of the US to try to prove any positive?
No, I'm not.
One other question for you, Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Can you give, that's not been proven yet. Can you give any
Actually,
personal
I do have a PhD
experience?
certificate.
Oh.
Okay.
Personal
Can
experience.
you give any personal experience of how vitamin C has physically helped you? And how can you prove that to us today to make your claim stick?
Since I have never had atherosclerotic plaque,
So this is
I
just
can't
hearsay.
prove, I can't prove that
Information.
it got rid of
You
it.
can't prove it.
But my
at all,
LDL
and that's the
cholesterol
problem.
is always way
The
below, and
point
I
of
never
it,
take
though, is
anything.
you're supposed to prove this to us. And
I
I'm
can't.
not
I
feeling
can't.
that.
That's the whole point.
Yeah.
The system prevents the
The
proof.
system's not broken, you can't prove yourself to us.
But
that
I
this
have to prove
doesn't
myself
work.
to you through the system that's broken.
And his experience would be considered anecdotal.
Anecdotal.
Yeah.
Right. So you're absolutely right. The medical system, the broken medical system will always go with blinders on one direction because that's the law. If you try to prescribe anything beyond what the FDA has provided as acceptable for prescription, then you can go to jail and be fined. So you're not going to buy
So the
it.
system rules us by fear of not getting healthy and not having enough information, but you're still not convincing you of your
Cannot.
own personal
And I
experience.
cannot. I
I'm
have
trying
clean
to.
pipes. I have no plaque buildup. That's my personal experience. I only take 500 milligrams, half a gram a day, but that has kept me, or
Maybe not.
something has kept me from having any plaque buildup. I can't guarantee it was that.
Could be
because
genetics.
It
Could be a good genetics.
It could be
It's one of your family.
Toastmasters, right?
Yes, that's what it is.
Toastmasters, there you go.
Are there any other questions? Time for one last question. Comment?
Well, what would be your solution to fixing the medical system so that it could do what you say it should do?
Get rid of that requirement for food supplements. In order to make a claim, right now it's illegal to make a medical claim about a food supplement unless it's gone through that process. So you can just, they're less regulated because they're not making medical claims. In order to make a medical claim, you have to go through that process. So you need to eliminate that $100 million process, or let's spend more taxpayer money and have the government fund it, which I'm not in favor of. I don't need my taxes going up. I know this works, so I don't want to. But you can pay more if you'd like. That answer your question?
Well, it kind of
It's one of them.
was part of it.
Okay. All right. right, if there are no more questions,